36 years is long, man.
Yeah, makes me feel old.
What's that one decision-making formula that you have when you're deciding that you will go against the current pattern of decision-making and you will make a decision?
But these decisions are not easy. While you feel like doing it, I mean, I want to do it. But in your mind, you have to kind of convince the voice in your head, right? So there, I try to say that, okay, if it may not work. If it doesn't work, I'll find something, So that's what you tell the voice in your head. If I, at least for me, if I tell the voice in my head that this is irreversible, I have to make it happen. If it doesn't happen, I'm gone.
You can clearly see the future. That is different than how you communicate the same story to external team members, internal team members, and the entire company.
Thought we should make a radical change in the way we are doing things, model change, because after all, I come with the perspective of a CFO where we're trying to create value. So I know that there are certain businesses which are very visible. People like to talk numbers, but that's why we are not making a lot of money. We're making money in something else.
Yeah.
So what do we do with this one and what do we do with this one?
जब Azure Power का सबसे बुरा वक्त आया है, उस टाइम पे आप कहते हो कि मैं अंदर जाता हूँ और मैं चीज़ों को ठीक करता हूँ.
See, all these lenders, 1.5 billion of debt, all the different lenders, right? Domestic, international, bondholders all over the world. And they were getting very, very worried because if we don't give financial statements and we were already 1 year delayed, then technically you can get into a default position with the debt holders. So I thought it can't be so difficult. But as I got in and as I kind of started wading through, it started getting more and more and more difficult.
These kind of decisions, for you, did it come from intelligence or courage? Sugata Sircar,
Yes.
welcome to the Mastermind.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
36 years is long, man.
Yeah, makes me feel old.
What inspired you to have, you've been taking different roles. What's that one thing that keeps you motivated all through these 3 decades and beyond?
I could say challenge, and challenge is definitely an underlying part over there. But as at each stage, you can plan, what you want, but at each stage, certain, situations happen, and then you're taking calls, right? And at that time, आपको जो भी सही लगता है, you do that. So, I was in Bangalore working for Britannia, corporate office, very cushy, great campus in the office, good place to live in. In 90s, Bangalore was a very beautiful city. But then after doing it for a few years, I felt that I have to get solid factory experience,
Okay.
And as it happened, it was in Madurai with Madura Courts.
Okay.
So it was a career call, but it was also a personal call. So things like this have happened, through my career, right?
Any trigger moment that you made this decision that you should have this experience?
I was feeling that I needed a change, and I tried in Bangalore. The jobs I was getting are obviously corporate jobs. Now, there were factories around Bangalore, but what I got next was with Courts, and it was a large factory in Madurai, full value chain. So I decided to take it. I thought it would be different. It was different. Madurai, the town is whatever it is, but Courts had a very nice campus for its managers outside the town. So it was actually nice, but very different from Bangalore. Social life changed completely. We were a young family.
Okay.
My daughter was just born at the time. So this was one such call, and obviously any call that you take in your profession and your career also impacts the family.
Yeah.
And that's happened to us when we moved back to Mumbai, happened to us when we moved to Ahmedabad, back to Delhi, Gurgaon, and so on and so forth.
And you cleared your CA in 1989.
89, yeah, that's right.
And so you've started with your first job, but tell me a bit more about your last education and how is it, and are there stories around it that will make interesting?
CA education is a lot of grind, right? I mean, it's very, very rigorous, and but I was kind of very focused, I must say, because I was ambitious. I wanted to get into a good company. I had ambition of going far in corporate life. I wanted to leave Calcutta eventually because I thought I need to get out of this place where I've grown up, and so all that was there in the mind. So I had a lot of drive when I was doing my CA, and once it's done, it was done. Then moved on. Stories while doing CA are all of hardship and rigor. You go and do articleship in the morning in an audit firm, then you go for classes in the evening.
Yes.
Then this whole thing repeats. Then you're working on Saturdays, doing tests on Sundays. I mean, life is tough for those 3 years.
Okay. Now let me add some masala to it. You've had some great career pivots as well throughout, right? And I can see that now that you're telling me the story that you wanted to get out of the place you were born in. You were working as the CFO with Gujarat Gas, and then you transitioned into the MD. Not a very common transition, and very rare, and especially given the time attached to it. It's not post 2020 or 2021 they'll become common, but and then obviously you've led integrations like the Schneider and L&T integration. So what's that one decision-making formula that you have when you're deciding that you will go against the current pattern of decision-making and you will make a decision? And let me add some context to it. See, there are essentially what I believe there are two kinds of decision that you make. One is, let's call it type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is something that if you decide and something goes wrong, it's very hard to reverse it. And type 2 is, it's okay to, if something goes wrong, you can just get back to where you started. So, but your decisions, as I see, were type 1, right? When you go out publicly as being the MD, and then that's not easily reversible again. So what was the formula behind you taking these decisions, just for our listeners to understand how to decide?
So for me, I have this kind of urge and desire to do something that I have not done before, if it's adjacent to what I'm doing. So I wouldn't take something which is completely alien to me, but if it's something which I have not done before, but I feel I understand some of it, but not all of it, then I feel like doing it. And this has happened to me. Talk about the switch from CFO to MD in Gujarat Gas. Gujarat Gas was a British gas company. It was controlled by British Gas. I was hired by British Gas and placed there as CFO and finance director. Having worked in the business for about 5 years, I felt I knew out. Because, see, my approach to the CFO role, I think right from the time of Madura Courts, from there, became a business partnership approach. So, and I loved the association with the business. So in courts, I was working with the president of the division for many, performance matrices. Okay. In Cabot, I was working on strategy. Gujarat Gas, gas was very nascent at that time in the country, right? I mean, it was that industry was kind of evolving. So gas regulations came into being. So there were a lot of decisions to be taken on the commercial side, especially how do you price gas between different sectors? Is it just a replacement fuel plus margin pricing, or is there a market-based pricing? Then the most important thing is with the regulations in place, how do you bid for new areas, and how do you price gas there, etc. And as finance director, I was involved in all this decision making with the marketing, commercial teams, and legal, and so on. So when the kind of board asked me in its wisdom to step up, I felt I wanted to do it. Obviously, there were things that I haven't done before, and but I thought I knew the business, and I wanted to explore. So this is the kind of thing which has happened again, later in my career. It's happened with Schneider, then it's happened after I left executive role, got into a non-executive role, and then again took up something. So it's the attraction of doing something which in my mind is a little bit different and significant. And what you say about the other piece that you talked about, right? That decisions which are irreversible. so these decisions are not easy. While you feel like doing it, I mean, I want to do it, but in your mind you have to kind of convince the voice in your head, right? So there, I try to say that, okay, if it may not work, if it doesn't work, I'll find something, So that's what you tell the voice in your head. If I, at least for me, if I tell the voice in my head that this is irreversible, I have to make it happen. If it doesn't happen, I'm gone. It's very difficult for me. I can't take that call.
So what do you think these kind of decisions, for you, did it come from intelligence or courage?
Courage, I think other people can say. I mean, it's difficult to detect your own courage. No, it's both the heart and the head, I think, because it's a feel, your all your perceptions of what you want to do, and then the logical part of it is, can I really do it? What will make it? Why do I think I can do it? That kind of thing.
So what you're saying is that logic was the reason behind your confidence, and you've made a confident decision that you know the business and you can take it over. And then you said that you clearly knew the business because you've spent decent time. Now, you know something, and you being good at it, and you can clearly see the future. That is different than how you communicate the same story to external team members, internal team members, and the entire company. And as the CEO, you have to weave that story, because a strategy is as good as the story, is what I feel. So what's that story that you've, after you've taken the hat of the MD, what story did you communicate to everybody? And how did you decide on it? I mean, just give us some little formulas and patterns of your thought process.
Very nice. Actually, one more aspect that I should have said that is, in addition to knowing the business, I felt I had traction with people in the business who matter, the functional heads, the operations people, the commercial people. I felt that we had a good working relationship where they felt I understand the business, and then that trust. Because I can know whatever I know, but as you're rightly saying, I mean, you have to get it done with people and you have to work with people. So I felt that I had that traction. When I switched, the approach that I think I took is somewhat of respect, because people who have been, let us say, building pipelines all their lives, right? The technical people who are doing it, people who are selling gas all their life, people who are doing gas contracts for last 10 years. My approach is, anyway, I think I have a respectful kind of approach to people I work with, and I think that works. But along with that, I also wanted to bring in some of my own things, where I thought we should make a radical change in the way we are doing things, model change, because after all, I come with the perspective of a CFO where we're trying to create value. So I know that there are certain businesses which are very visible. People like to talk numbers, but that's when we are not making a lot of money. We're making money in something else. So what do we do with this one, and what do we do with this one? I had some thoughts, and I could work with them. But you work with people only when you have traction with people, and so, they have that trust.
So did you build these tractions, these relations intentionally, or it was just natural?
I think it's my way of working, because I have realized, I realized from Court's days when I was working more with the business, is that how you build relationships and trust is this.
How should one do it? I mean, if somebody who's a CFO and is 35, 36, for example, what is your one advice on building traction inside the company?
First of all, express and say that you respect something what the marketing head is saying or the sales head is saying. Say it. Respect. I understand. And then try to bring in your concepts and agree to try things out. Because oftentimes we try to go in like a hammer, and CFOs tend to do that. Finance managers tend to do that because we think that we can tell that you absolutely have to do this. You might have to do that for certain things like process governance and so on. But whereas where business decisions are concerned, you're trying to take a commercial call or trying to make a change in the business model, and you're trying to convince and influence, you have to work with the person. So respect. Acknowledge actually in your mind that the person is knowledgeable, and then try to work with it. There's no prescription, because if it was, then it would be very easy, but you have to work with that approach.
What you're telling me is actually against what I thought and assumed about you when I was preparing for this conversation. आप बिल्कुल settled थे. आपके रिश्ते बिल्कुल set थे. You've had all the traction, you've got a great role. You've left all that, and then you started on a non-executive role. You were advising Azure from the outside. Being in that boardroom and advising on critical matters is different. But then, when going in, taking that responsibility, rolling up your sleeves, signing up those papers, and owning the authority is a different beast. जब Azure Power का सबसे बुरा वक्त आया, at least that's what I could see during my research, statutory delayed audits, governance, whistleblowers and whatnot. This was one of the darkest time with Azure Power. उस टाइम पे आप कहते हो कि मैं अंदर जाता हूँ और मैं चीज़ों को ठीक करता हूँ. And within 14 months, I don't think people mostly know that renewable business mein, it's not just one balance sheet, and then there are different SPVs, right? Different vehicles, special purpose vehicles,
and there are significant lenders in each.
अब हर का अपना अलग ऑडिट ट्रेल होता है, बैलेंस शीट, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स अलग होते हैं, टेनोर अलग होता है, एंड कुछ 30 से ऊपर ऐसे
ऑपरेटिंग एंड टोटली 60
एसपीवीज के ऑडिट्स डिलेड थे. आपने 14 महीने में उसको लाइन पे ला दिया. आपने गवर्नेंस को सही किया, विसल ब्लोअर्स को काम आउट किया, एंड देन आई थिंक कुछ $1.5 billion के डेट्स थे, एंड यू रीफाइनेंस अप्रोक्सीमेटली $600 million in a dramatically magical turnaround time. क्या आपको अपने अंदर तोड़ना पड़ा था? I mean, कौन सी एक बिलीफ तोड़नी पड़ी थी अपने बारे में कि आप ये कर सकते हो? क्या था ऐसा जिसने रिस्क इज ग्रेटर देन कंफर्ट को जस्टिफाई कर दिया? मतलब आप क्वेश्चन समझो, इसमें कितना रिस्क है? I would have sleepless night because I'm easy. I'm advising that you do this, you take care of this is the right way. But then you said no, let me just jump in, take charge, and solve this.
Yeah. So actually, when you talk about it this way, on hindsight, it does look very scary. But when I was, at that juncture, so मैं तो board पे था, I was independent director. तो meetings होती थी, and regular meetings because everything was delayed and so on. So I knew, there are issues. So, and this was, first of all, so this company has two very large, strong shareholders. I mean, these are two of the largest infrastructure funds in the world. Yeah. It had an international board. So as independent director, मैं देख रहा था, this is delayed. It's not happening, and I started getting frustrated, and I kept saying that why I couldn't figure out why this is this way. Yeah. And I thought as I was getting a little bit more and more sucked in, and I kept asking and saying, at one point I realized, no, I'm getting into too much. As an independent director, you cannot do that. So I told the board, sorry, I'm getting too much. So at some stage, the shareholders, asked that, why don't you take charge and fix this? Would you want to do that? So at that time, मुझे लगा ये can't be too difficult. I have handled much larger businesses, so can't be too difficult. क्या हो सकता है? I mean, जब auditors information मांग रहे हैं तो I'll push people to give it. जो भी है करेंगे. So actually there's the attraction of challenge and fixing it, and if I can do it, it's very impactful, because as you were saying, see all these lenders, 1.5 billion of debt, all the different lenders, right? Domestic, international, bondholders all over the world. And they were getting very, very worried, because if we don't give financial statements and we were already 1 year delayed, then technically you can get into a default position with the debt holders. So I thought it can't be so difficult. But as I got in and as I kind of started wading through, it started getting more and more and more difficult. So what you finally see is what I kind of walked in with some bravado. Probably, somebody might say that, not a very smart thing to do.
Yeah.
But it kind of grew after I got in. But by then, I just wanted to fix it. Yeah.
But did you not have self-doubt?
Yeah.
Once, like you're saying that once I saw the interiors, the exteriors could still convince me that, okay, it's doable. But once I got inside,
I did. Because see, it's again about people. So, and you need to figure out issue kya hai. I mean, you can't go in with a plan that I'll do in 30 days. You can. I mean, we should have a plan, 30, 60, 90 days what I'll do. But before everything, you have to find the truth as to kyun aisa hai, what is exactly the problem. And it's mainly people, right? I mean, it's how are people behaving, why are they behaving this way, are the processes not right, etc., capability and so on and so forth. So I had self-doubt, because it's not as if I'm going to sit and do everything. In fact, most of the things which we are talking about have been done by teams. Governance have been done by teams. The whole financial reporting has been turned around by teams. Refinancing, we have a good capital team. Okay. So I am not going to do it actually. So somebody will do it. So it was stressful. It got stressful because I was having self-doubt. So wo hai. But what I think it's the desire or the to be impactful. So I felt that it could be very impactful, and so that was the hook. So
impact does drive you. That's
impact drives me. Yes, absolutely.
That's the first question that I asked you. That why would you have such career pivots, right? So impact is critical. Now, tell me, you've joined Azure. And then you look at the chaos, you get to the root of things, as you said, that, first was to find out the truth of why. And so you get behind the why. Now you have the why.
Yeah.
Now, how did you plan for your 30, 60 or 90 days? I'm asking this because somebody who's watching us right now and is in the midst of that chaos. And chaos is very common, right? And it's a very broad word to say. I mean, even if I get out of this film studio right now, I meet with an accident, that's a chaos for me.
Yes.
But for a CFO, somebody who's watching us, he would exactly know what you're talking about, right? So if somebody's watching us and is in that chaotic environment, how should he plan the 30, 60 and 90 days, given that he's arrived at the truth of things?
So I have a very structured approach. I like a structured approach. I have a plan, but knowing fully well that I might have to change the plan, that's fine, but I need a plan. So in this kind of a situation, you start with the end goal.
Okay.
You start with the end goal. Whatever it is, in our case, it was releasing the first year of audited financial statements for the group globally, for the group in India, and for each of the SPVs to all the lenders.
Okay. As you say, keep giving me real examples so that, I always believe that एक teacher से अच्छा ना एक executive बताता है, क्योंकि a teacher doesn't have stories to share, right? So as you say that start with the end in mind. I'd love to have your stories and what you did. So first one is you had your end in mind, that the end goal that you will release your audit first year statements and everything. So that's one. And next?
Yeah. So end goal with a timeline. Okay. So I had taken charge on 1st May 23 and I think we told the board in July that in 14 weeks we will release the financials for the first year, which was FY22. So end goal with a timeline. Now this you could give only after you spend the first 30 days of finding the truth, because you just can't give up. You can do for yourself, but to tell the world you have to have some basis. So what I'm saying is two things. One is, in your mind, there is a goal, but spend the first 30 days in finding the truth. What is ailing?
Okay, that's done.
Based on that, then fix the timeline for the goal and tell the world.
Okay.
Because you have to tell the world so that
Go
it's
out
also a
publicly.
pressure on you.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's one thing. Then working backwards from that. Now, I follow a typical project planning methodology. So I used to have one large whiteboard in my room, which was completely gridded, and used to have, this is my end goal. So for this, what has to happen when, and this is done as teamwork. I did it with the team. So, what do you think has to happen by when? For this to happen, what are the dependencies? What could be the road
So you had a
bumps?
clearly defined RACI with you?
Yeah.
So-
So that is the typical project planning thing.
Okay.
But then as you're going with it, you have to keep changing it. And you should be okay to do that. Keep changing it so that you still arrive at the end goal. It's fun doing that. I mean, this exercise is can be really interesting. And a lot of it is your input, your thinking, but you have to have buy-in for the key people who are working with you on that. So in this case, you need buy-in of everyone. You need buy-in of the auditors, first of all. We made them sign on that plan and told the audit committee and the board that this is the plan. Auditors, of course, will have their caveats. Subject to this, subject to that, etc. That's fine. But we have a shared goal.
Yes.
And then also inside with the team, we have that shared goal. Secondly, I mean, create a atmosphere of psychological safety so that while everybody can see you're focused on that goal, if something is not going right, they're not too scared to come and tell you. So I would keep asking, are we okay with this? Is there any issue here? So that people are comfortable to tell you that this is.
So
not
let's summarize. You said first of all, get to the why of things. Then once you have the truth in front of you, break it down to its most fundamental level so that there's no room for bias or convention. Then try and mark your end goal. Once you have the end goal, then get to the timeline so that you have a fixed period and a goal with a timeline attached to it, and then go out publicly so that you have pressure on you that now that everybody knows you've got a reputation to manage, and because it directly connects to what your desire was, what your motivation was, impact. And then once you have it, you define roles and responsibilities. So let's just break down on the RACI factor. That, for example, and for people who do not know, R stands in RACI. R stands for responsibility, A for accountability, and C is for your who gets consulted, and I is who needs to be informed, right? As you mentioned that you've had all these people so that people feel safe to come and say that this is what has happened and I'm just informing you. So how did you, and somebody's watching us right now, a CFO in that chaotic environment as we started. So how does it decide who is responsible for what, who's accountable for what, who needs to be consulted and who needs to be informed? Can you break this down in your case?
Yeah. So in our case, so financial reporting is responsible for ultimately getting the financial reports released and audited.
And for each project company in your case?
Yes.
Okay.
So financial reporting is clearly, accountable.
Okay.
I am responsible.
Okay. Accountable and responsible. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And then
people who have to be consulted are auditors, are, in this case, see, there were whistleblower allegations which had to be investigated. So have to be consulted, included lawyers.
Okay.
And we had lawyers in India, we had internal counsels, external counsels, lawyers in the US. And then there are some ancillary functions like, financial planning, treasury, and so on and so forth. So people who have been, informed, consulted, etc. See, as examples, so many times what was happening is that we would either find an issue which has not been dealt with properly, let us say it's an accounting issue, or a whistleblowing allegation which is being investigated, and what comes out is going to warrant more investigation. Then the internal teams as well as external teams might say that, then we can't do this timeline because this is going to take more time. So there, I started using the classic project management thing. Is that, separate this track. Separate this track. Let's work on this, but don't disturb the rest. Let's. So you need to separate resources for this. You need to separate some time for that, but let the main thing go on. So this is partly is project management, but a lot of it is getting the teams to do, because it's the same team that you're working with mainly, especially for that first 6, 8, 10 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've done everything right. You've got that end goal in mind. You've got the RACI decided and broken down into multiple pieces. You've got a strategy to handle whistleblowers, but things would go wrong, right? And you've got lenders for each project companies. Things were going for a toll. It were not good when you joined and when you started working on. So in these times, trust is of paramount importance. How did you win over trust? And more so, the question is for people to understand how can they win over trust in times when trust is a rare available currency.
Yeah, you'll recall, when you were asking whether how I kind of took the decision in my head to change. I was thinking that if I am transparent with stakeholders, I mean, it should work. That was my thinking.
Okay.
So I used mainly. I mean, I professed to be transparent. I mean, with the auditors, I told them that I can promise you will be transparent.
Okay.
And I'll come back to the team, because my saying is not going to work unless the team is kind of aligned with it. With lenders, I've seen this kind of change, right? I was telling you the company had bonds issued. So these are green bonds, 2 tranches, $300 million plus each,
Okay.
issued to global, bondholders, investor companies all over the world. So when I had taken over after July, we've told the board that we'll issue the first set of statements in 14 weeks. I did a kind of a tour meeting bondholders in Singapore, Hong Kong, London, and those meetings were, cool, very cool meetings. And, as bondholders were walking into the meetings, they were not smiling. And I would tell them that, we plan to issue this in 14 weeks, and whatever we've done till then, we started telling them, and they started warming up a little bit. But when we actually issued them in 14 weeks, that's when it started changing. So my next round of the bondholders, again, same circuit. This time they were coming in and shaking hands and saying that, okay, now that this is behind us, what next, and what is the company planning for growth?
What were the indicators for you, and how can somebody track that? Okay, now trust is genuinely coming back.
See, I think that when you talk to people, and this is my perception, people can usually identify genuineness.
Okay.
So if I want to be, transparent, and I do want to be transparent, so
how do you track that what you're doing is working?
Yes. So this is the first part. I mean, but then you actually have to deliver on that. So how do you track is then you have to work with the team.
But I mean, how do you? My question really is that how do you track lenders' trust is genuinely coming back on us? What are the 4 or 5 indicators? Is it tenor, or is it like some kind of waiver or speed, or give us 3 or 4 indicators?
A, they want to do business with you again. So the conversation changes from what are your financial questions about financial statements, etc., to what are the company's plans for new projects? When are you going to need money next? Are you planning to raise debt? Bondholders are asking, are you planning to issue bonds? Internally in domestic, project finance companies are asking whether you want to do projects. So they have, they want to do business with you. That's first.
Number one. Okay.
Secondly, when you actually do business with them, all the refinancing that we did, a lot of times we got a better rate. So, to your point, pricing is now better because see, the strength of the balance sheet is one thing. The company always had strength of good shareholders, strength of a good balance sheet. It's got a large operating portfolio, 3 gigawatts of operating assets. It generates good cash. It was always there. But the reliance on the management and the fact that governance is in place started showing up through rates, through the different offers that we were getting, etc.
Okay.
So that's easy to detect when you're getting trust and confidence, and when you're not getting trust and confidence, because the company has gone through ups and downs of those phases. So we've seen both.
Okay. I'll take a step back in your career and get back to your Schneider phase. Because we are talking about trust. Let's do a short M&A masterclass or let's say an integration masterclass. You've led the Schneider and L&T switchgear.
With others.
It's a large integration. How would you, if somebody is again a CFO watching us and is about to take on a project like this at hand, what should he start with in what order, like price harmonization or ERPs or people and culture? How did you define the first 90 days and tell us any stories from what happened?
No, so before all that, you need to step back, because see, integration you do to achieve the goals of the acquisition.
Okay.
So acquisition had a set of goals. For our case, when Schneider acquired the L&T switchgear business, so there were 3 objectives which were laid out and which were published. One was to expand the market reach. Second was to enable India to be the 4th global hub for Schneider.
Okay.
And the third was to create synergies in cost. So 3 objectives.
Okay.
So the when you start the post-merger integration, you're doing that to achieve those objectives. So that's the primary thing. Now, in this case, because both were very good, strong, large, thriving businesses, our first priority was business continuity.
Okay.
So you can't disturb the business.
No disruption.
No disruption. No disruption at different levels. First of all, at the ground, technical, procedural levels is fine. I mean, you do all your paperwork, but take control of the delegation of authority where it matters, but don't touch everything on day one. Yeah.
Okay.
So you have to take control of certain decision making, but you can't touch everything.
So you're also saying that it's also important for you to decide what not to do. Initially.
You can't touch everything on day one. Thirdly,
any upfront hint on what shouldn't be touched?
What shouldn't be touched is, for instance, pricing decisions at the sales manager level or at the regional level. Don't touch it on day one.
But how do you then avoid things like discount entropy and...
Nothing happens because it's a good, strong, ongoing business. These people are doing it. They'll continue to do it in the way they are doing it. They're not going to change overnight. So, but ultimately you will look at it. But for business continuity, you first of all give assurance to internal teams and also to channel partners that everything goes on as usual. We will engage after that.
Okay.
So business continuity was very critical because both were thriving businesses. So you don't want to give opportunity to competition to use this to, so to cannibalize. Number 2. Then we start engaging with the teams of the acquired business for the functional integration. That was our second pillar. Functional integration, starting with the back-end functions like finance, HR, and so on and so forth. Third, synergy, and we can talk about. Actually, I do a full session on post-merger integration. So I'll try to compress it.
Yes.
So the third one is synergy, and synergy is a kind of pillar in itself. We can talk about it. Fourth one was systems and processes.
Okay.
And fifth one was risk management.
Okay.
Underlying is culture. Now, this one is important. Because everything that we do, right, starting from business continuity is fine, but after that, starting from functional integration, especially when you try to do synergy, you have to work with people. And first of all, we have to understand where the differences lie in which they do things or think about things, and what are the respective strengths. So we spent a lot of time on that because in Schneider we put a completely whole process about cultural integration.
Okay.
Because we realized that the L&T switchgear business came from a different DNA from how the Schneider businesses are run globally.
Okay.
the way they think about performance, the way they take decisions, the delegations of authority, measurement of performance were different. And therefore it needed a lot of engagement. So otherwise, what happens is both sides start picking up the negatives of the other side, or the apparent negatives of the other side. So we had sessions where we were encouraging each other to kind of explore the ways we do things and find out positives of that, and so on, the cultural integration piece. Because with that you can't get buy-in. Because what happens with synergy is that synergy is what? I mean, you as an acquirer have done a kind of a business plan, and you've decided, taking the other sides and the mixed plan, that these are the areas where we're going to get synergies, and there are targets there.
Okay.
Now, the managers who drive the acquired business, unko pata nahi tha ye. So after they've come on board, you do that first session when you share that now this will be our shared goal of synergies. We're going to do this in the market, and this will give us this. And we're going to do this, and this will give us this cost reduction and procurement, and so on and so forth. And the first reactions are not going to be good, because they will say, "Are you crazy?" I mean, this is, So this is the normal pattern. There will be a storming phase. Yeah. And then this starts sinking in, and you have to do a lot of work on that, and then it becomes a shared goal. Then there are actions, and then you track and all that.
Okay. So again, I mean, from the point of a post-merger goals, can you list the top 5 things again in order of their priority? Number 1, you said business continuity.
Business continuity, systems and processes working properly, the cultural integration, understanding each other. Without that, nothing is going to work.
Okay.
I think this is the top 3. This is good.
All right. And you've mentioned about the storm phase. Now, this is a very sensitive time for the two entities that are becoming one. How do you, things would again go off track again. And if again a CFO is watching us right now, and if something bad comes up during that transitioning time, how should that be communicated to everybody?
When you say bad, something's not working.
Something is not working. There's something wrong. The different units are not working as planned, or there's disruption.
And it's bound to happen.
How do you communicate that without impacting trust? And there are two cultures involved.
I think be transparent. Tell them
that works every time. Just being transparent.
Okay, let's talk situation, because then it makes it easier, right?
Yeah.
So let us say two businesses, and because when two businesses almost with the same or similar products, capabilities merge, you're expecting synergy in the sense that this business salespeople will sell some of these business products also to their customers when they see those product gaps, right?
Okay.
That's the idea of merger, because when you plan, you expect that that synergy will happen, and you find it's not happening.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a real situation. It can happen. It has happened.
Yes.
Not happening. And so if you ask this salesperson, he will tell you 10 reasons why he cannot sell this, and those are all genuine reasons. So these are kind of, I'm trying to get into a real situation, and some of those reasons you'll find are right, and then so in our case, what we also found is that the process which was in place, by which the product of one can be sold by the other, was very cumbersome, because it was not a process of trust in the initial phases. So, you want to sell this product, okay, you need to tell me where it's going, you need to tell me what is the margin. If the margin is lower than what I am doing elsewhere, why should I give it to you? Okay, it's going to take some time, it needs 3 approvals, etc. Yeah. So, and why is that? So it's all, as you can see, it's all behavior, right?
Yes.
So why is that? So you go back here and try to find why is that, and then you find that you've not sorted out that if the product is coming from a certain business, if it goes there, what happens to his KPI? Where does it go? did say something, but it's not appealing to him. You say that, yeah, you'll get a credit for this in your commission, etc. It doesn't appeal. To a salesperson, is it my top line? It's not a top line. So these are, classical problems that you get. And then you got to solve it, keeping in mind the thinking of the people who are dealing with it. First of all, trust. So, make it smoother.
Yes.
And what does the company really want? And if the company really wants that it's going to be sold there, then we actually started a system of shadow credit. So, okay, you have a credit of sales. You can't count the same number twice, but I will count it twice for visibility, incentive, etc. So it's one example, but things not working, there is no one prescription. You need to get into it to see why it's not working, and it's usually behavior, and behavior comes from something.
But this is a very realistic example, and you've rightly nailed the core. मेरी business ने तेरे business को acquire किया, तो जहाँ पे गैप्स है मार्केट में वहाँ पे अब तू मेरा माल भी बेचेगा. बट देन द पीपल इन कंपनी ए से कि हम नहीं बेचेंगे, एंड देन दे आर नॉट कंफर्टेबल सेलिंग इट, एंड it will begin to irritate you because you've acquired for that reason. And it's a very sensitive thing. I'm sure taught in no book. How do you communicate? I mean, now that you're telling me this realistic example, I mean, and I'm trying to juggle with my, and I'll, after this conversation, I'll sit with and try and crack this problem with all my brain models. But this is not about 1, 2 or 3 or 100 people. This is about tens of thousands of people, and it's a giant culture thing. It's very hard to crack this.
Well, I mean, if you've detected it somewhere, you'll find that it's prevalent in many places.
But that's only the first biggest challenge. That would you be able to detect it? And if yes, would that be on time or after the ship is
No, you'll lose some time. You'll detect it when you see that it's not happening. First, you'll see that it's not happening. I mean, you've taken a target that in first 90 days, this person says that sales, etc. It's not happening. And the reasons you will get will not tell you all this. So you have to get into that. After that, it's not very difficult to detect that what's happening, because people will tell you that they'll tell you from their perspective, but it's not very difficult to piece it together, I would say. And yes, I mean, you have to tell people transparently. More than telling, you need to find out why they're behaving this way, and they will tell you. They will tell you. I mean, if I sell here, then, what happens to my KPIs? They may not tell you in the first conversation, but they tell you in the third one. So,
you will lose time.
You will lose time. So these are processes.
And what's the classic? What's the ideal role of a CFO during these times in terms of his strategy to talk to the CEO? What does...
it depends on the industry and the kind of business it is.
What did you do?
My case, as I was saying, I was always a business CFO. In Schneider, I was business partner with the CEO. I worked very, very closely with him. So, and this problem comes to mind because we've dealt with it. Okay. So as he would talk to people, I would also talk to people. We had that culture. In fact, that was a bit of a cultural difference with the business which was acquired. I remember after we acquired the first business review meeting, the invites went out from my, from my mail ID to the business heads, business review. And that was a surprise to them, that why is the CFO asking for a business review? It should be the CEO. I'm just saying, small things of, cultural differences.
आपकी email ID से merger के बाद उनको
we were doing in Schneider all the time. So
review के लिए invite किया.
Your slot, coming from my desk. Of course, the CEO would sit in. Then I heard that, So, but anyway, all that, I mean, you can get over that very quickly. I mean, you connect with the people, and they were all very good, experienced people. So it was good. I think the Schneider L&T integration is a huge success story.
What do you think were your top 3 non-negotiables? I wouldn't say in one company, but let me just ask you from the entire perspective of your 3+ decades of career, what do you think as a CFO, as a business CFO, should I add, what were your 3 non-negotiables?
Non-negotiables
In
from
terms
what
of
point of view?
managing your team, you've talked a lot about transparency, trust. So, especially when you were looking at chaotic environments, you were trying to grow, you were trying to manage risks,
Yeah.
you were trying to keep a balance between both. What were your 3 non-negotiables that you knew that these are the 3 pillars? It should work exactly as planned.
Yeah, one I think is authenticity. I expect my leaders or most of the people who drive things to be authentic and truthful. Now we are all human beings, and I understand that, but at least in the critical things, in the important things, I expect them to tell me how it is.
Expect them to tell
from
the
him.
CFO.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it might slip from time to time. It may not happen, and there is obviously a tolerance level, but not beyond a point. So, while there are people who are good at this, who adapt, there are some people who, for some reason or the other, you find that never adapt. Yeah, and if you have to establish a good culture where people are being coming up with things, telling you ideas, etc. Then if there are people who are disrupting, you have to separate them. And there's no two ways. Put them in another team, let them try something else, whatever. Second thing, my approach has been to deliver on time. Is one thing that I have a bit of an obsession on, but I'm also conscious that should not become so pervasive that it compromises quality.
Okay.
So that's a balance that you try to keep.
Yes.
As the non-negotiables when I work with my team, it's mainly that I like to work with a clear, good atmosphere, deliver on time. And I suppose the third thing, not non-negotiable so much, but what I really desire in people is learnability. Open to
Openness to
learning,
learn, yeah.
openness to learn, and capability to learn.
Okay.
And that, as you know, is the biggest thing that you can have these days, because the skill that you have now, you might have to change it going forward.
You're right. Sugata, times have changed.
Hmm.
You did your CA in 1989.
Yeah.
We're sitting in 2025. And I hope people watch this video in 2055. What's that one advice, just one, that you would want to give to people completing their CAs or people who've just begun their careers now? What is that one thing that they should really not miss as they plan their next move or as they lay down their foundation?
Yeah. I mean, difficult to understand. Answer that simply, but what's coming in my mind is understanding of business. Understanding of business, whichever business they're starting their career in. Whatever they've learned in CA, since you said CA, I'm just saying that. So that's one thing. That's already inside. But focus on understanding the business. The model, the business, what delivers for the business, because ultimately the value that we bring is in business, because the tasks will change and therefore the skills required will change. Accounting is not such a prized skill with which you can go a long way. Yeah, I mean,
especially with the advent of AI and
yes, I mean you do need it. I mean, good accountants are always valued, but not beyond a point, because especially if you're in industry, I mean, if you're an auditor, that's a different thing, or a consultant for accounting, that's a different thing. But I'm talking about somebody who's in industry, your value is in the business. Yeah. So that's one thing, because I still see, very good finance professionals who are either extremely focused on accounting or extremely focused on raising money. To my mind, these are all enablers. Money is a resource. I mean, like anything else. In some industries, it's a more important resource, like the renewable infrastructure industry. But after all, it's the resource. So my focus and my respect actually is for people who can understand business and run businesses, grow businesses, turn around businesses. So therefore, whichever you're a CA or whatever you are, and I mentor some young people every year. I mean, my input would be to try and learn the business, because that's what is going to take it forward.
What's your advice for what we're doing at CFO Story Club in terms of the learning sessions that we're hosting? What do you think? Where should the club go in the next 5 years or so?
I think one is to explore. If you pick a few industries to explore the new business model. For instance, the manufacturing industry is changing completely because of
especially post-COVID.
Post-COVID, and also because of the digitization opportunities. I mean, the way you maintain equipment, for instance, in a plant, is changing completely, because you've got AI giving you predictive maintenance plans. Just as an example, earlier this concept of economies of scale. You have a huge plants, you have economies of scale. You don't need to do that. I mean, you can have 5 plants, you can digitally integrate, you can run it.
Yes.
So manufacturing is changing. Services is not something I have been very. I've never worked in services, but I'm sure it is changing. So how business models are changing, to answer your question, and secondly, the personal professional side of it. How should I manage my life and work? I think it needs good deliberation on this now, because see what's happened over the last 20 years when we were going through our careers, 25 years. India has been going through a huge growth phase, right? And we've kind of ridden that wave. We worked very hard, but we've ridden that wave. We led very stressful lives, and I see now also young people who are coming in, they have very stressful lives because their uncertainty, I think, is even more now. So there is stress. So I think there is a need to deliberate and help people on managing life and work. And in work, the things that we are talking about, you cannot manage everything by learning technical skills, right? We talked a lot about attitudes and how to get people to do things, and all these people, mind you, around you are all very stressed people.
Obviously.
So I think these are the areas
good
going forward.
Yeah. All right, Sugata, I've taken a lot of your time. We've been chatting for almost over 60 minutes now. I'd wrap up this session with a final lesson that you've given to the young folks, and that is non-finance for finance will make you the next CFOs and will make you successful in life. Yes, good accountants are required and essential, but with the advent of modernization and the AI and the platforms decade, you will have to be more business aware. You'll have to know and understand the business you're in, and you'll have to have your own stories to communicate, and that also will make them better communicators and storytellers.
Yes, absolutely, summarize it well.
All right, thank you so much, Sugata. It was lovely chatting with you.
Thank you.
And I look forward to another session with you, more on the M&A perspective, wherein you can deep dive on what happens at the real core level. Thank you so much.
Thank you.